after the war, come back home here, and then my wife, of course, she thought that I was gone when I got shot down and everything else. Right. So then things weren't right, and then we got a divorce. I remarried again to Agnes here.
Right.
And, we get along good together and everything else. We're good. But of course, in a way, you can't blame them. They don't know. They figure you're gone, you're not coming back or something like that. So, but other than that, everything has been good. I worked construction up until they moved out up here. The Warren brothers moved out, and then I went from here to the post office.
Right.
I worked at the post office up until '86, and then I just retired. I put 5 years in up there, and again I used to deliver the mail from the main post office to the different ones around,
right,
like Calvin Station and Salina and Onondaga Hill and all around. I used to deliver the mail to them. I started at 4:30 in the morning, was done at 12:30. Then I could go golfing in the summertime. Outside of that, that's about it.
Now, getting back to the war. Now, when the war started for the United States, you then you were drafted.
I was drafted, yeah.
And when you were drafted, what happened then? You got on the bus and left for Fort Dix, or?
Yeah, Fort Dix, and through training. And
did your basic training there?
Basic training, Fort Dix.
And you were there for 6 weeks or so?
6 weeks or so, and then they shipped us up north. I'm just trying to think where it was. I think it was up north, and then boom, I wound up going out west. Because I wound out.
Now, how did the Army Air Force come into play? Because you were drafted into the Army.
Yeah.
Right. And at that time, the Army Air Force was Army.
Army.
The Air Force was not a separate entity.
It wasn't a separate unit. So.
Right. So you were still in the Army, and then how did you get interested in the flying part? Was that just
they
issued to you?
just sent me to different places and like that. And that's where I wound up in. And when I went for instrument instructions and stuff like that,
right?
In school I can't think of where it was now. It was out in the Midwest.
Right.
And after that, then they sent me to Texas.
Right, and that's when
first time I ever
Army base.
Yeah,
right.
First time I ever got into a biplane with the canopy with the.
Right.
The pilot had the canopy over him, but I was in the back seat.
You were the gunner.
There was nothing there, and there was a gun stowed towards the tail.
Right.
And first time I ever flew in my life, and all I could see is the runway going away from me when I was sitting backwards and see it runway going away from me. I got up there, and then the target ship come up. And you took and unstowed the gun, swung it around, and fired your shots at the sleeve. And
so you learned how to shoot, but also how to trust your pilot.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. What a time that was! And we had fellas that because we were out over down there in Texas in the big fields, and some of the guys, wouldn't take and put the strap on the base of the floor of the plane up through their harness and snap it. And we had a couple of boys that went like this; they fell out.
Oh dear.
In fact, that's what they did to me when I had mine strapped. I'm standing there like this after they finished firing at the target ship, and the pilot goes, "Ooh." I looked up, all I could see was ground underneath me, but my strap was on. That was the only thing holding you in the plane.
So it may have been partly on purpose on part of the
he was just he was just having fun, that's all. And they'd zoom around. I said, "Thanks a lot." Let me know the first time I ever flew, and they'd get me up there and do that.
So that was more of a gunnery school.
Gunnery school, yeah. Aerial gunnery school.
Right. And when did you finally get into the B-17?
Well, now to be truthful, I can't remember. It was just when they switched us around, but it was in Texas. They switched us into B-17s and got our crew together.
And now, was that crew the same crew you went to England?
Yeah, that's the crew I went to England with. We stayed right
together.
Pilot and
everybody? Okay.
We stayed right together. In fact, we used to take and we were just like family.
Right.
The whole crew. We were all just like family. In fact, had their wives down. We had our wives down there at one time before we went, and we'd go out together. And then the fellas, we'd always be together, chum together. No matter where we went. Even after we got to England, we did the same thing, chum together.
Right.
And it was all part of the family, just like one big happy family.
What was Lieutenant Larrabee like?
Real nice guy. Real nice fella. I mean, him and the co-pilot, Jack Wilson.
Jack Wilson.
Yeah.
He was a second lieutenant on,
Yeah.
on your missions
And
over Germany.
Legason was the navigator. He wound up afterwards being a bombardier, and then I can't think of the guy's name that was the bombardier, because he left our plane to go with another crew, and we had a different man come in into our
Right.
in our last mission as that. I was in the nose,
Right.
dropping the bombs, and the navigator was Legason.
And Bogle was the radio operator.
Bogle was the radio operator.
What was Jack like?
He was all right, nice guy. I mean, he was from California, and he was different. I don't know. He was a real nice guy. There were a whole bunch of them. And Cotton, that was the tail gunner. He was from Kentucky, if I remember.
That's Joe Arendt?
Huh? Joe Arendt. Yeah, Joe Arendt. That's it.
Right.
He was our tail gunner.
You call him Cotton?
Cotton. He was a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
Real Southern drawl.
Nice.
And there's ball turret gunner right there. There's Bogle right there. Bogle's next to me.
Right.
And
Helms? Was Helms trained with you, or he was an addition?
that had to be. That was the officer.
No, Helms. James Helms, sergeant. I think he was a waist gunner eventually.
Yeah, well, eventually, afterwards, yeah.
I think Lieutenant Thompson and Sergeant Bowling were absent from that mission, right?
Thompson, yeah. Thompson
Right.
used to be our regular pilot, and Bowling, that's right, Bowling wasn't with us, and Thompson wasn't with us on that mission, so.
Right, okay.
See, there's Legason, Larrabee, Wilson, and that should be Thompson right there.
So Dunker was, Sergeant Dunker was the new guy,
Yeah.
right?
And then we had two of them that were new guys. Somebody took the tail,
Helms.
Helms, that had to
was
be the
waist
ball
gunner,
turret.
I think, was
Waist gunner, okay.
was a new guy too.
Yeah.
How about Wilson? Furman?
Yeah,
Furman
he was
Wilson.
a waist gunner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was he like? Do you remember him?
He was a nice guy, real nice fella. I mean, like I say, we're all, remember, that's like family right here. That's
Right.
Freeman, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bowling Freeman, that's Freeman, and then Joe Arendt.
Yeah.
Right there.
Mm-hmm. What was it? What do you think it was like getting down that ball turret?
I didn't want to get down in there. I didn't like it. That was too crowded. I mean, it was, at the time, I just couldn't fit in there. Like, you see the way he was, Bowling there, he was a little small, and he could get down in that turret and it didn't bother him. But
Right.
that had to be a scary position to be into.
Could they put their parachute?
No, you couldn't put your parachute on
Not
there.
in
You didn't
there.
have room in there, no.
Right.
You didn't have any room in there to put your parachute on.
Yeah.
So it was too crowded.
Right.
But
So you all trained together in Texas, United States,
mm-hmm.
and then you got sent to England.
Yeah.
So when you went to England, did you go by B-7? Did you fly the B-17 to Newfoundland? You
We
said?
split the crew.
Right.
Split the crew right in half, and we took two planes.
Two planes.
Two B-17s over there. We flew them over there,
Okay.
and we landed. I don't know. It was where they were supposed to land. They detoured us, and we landed somewhere else, and then.
Right.
Eventually, we wound up in Poddington.
Paddington
Yeah,
eventually.
That's where.
That's where you did most.
That's where we did most of our
your
missions out of Poddington. Yeah. Yeah.
So the missions. How often did you have a mission?
Well, sometimes they go 2 or 3 in a row, and then you'd be off a day or so, and once in a while we get a weekend off. And we all stuck together. We went into town. Most all of us stuck together when we went into town.
Right.
And but it all depended on the weather. If the weather was right, we'd go out as much. And later on, I mean, it got so you were really going.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it was on the 19th mission when we got shot down.
Right.
But but they used to fly us quite a bit and quite often.
Right. Mm-hmm. Life in England was get up. What time did you get up in the morning? Like the normal. Look, if you had a mission.
If we didn't have a mission, we got up early anyway, and then
Right.
we'd have a
Which
breakfast.
was
and that.
military life. Yeah.
But if it was a mission, especially a long mission, they'd get us up at 1 o'clock, midnight, 1 o'clock.
So if you had to bomb Berlin, East
Yeah,
Germany,
early.
you'd get up early.
And then you go have breakfast and everything else, and then they brief you. briefing. The pilots and the co-pilots and all of them had to go in special briefing. And then,
Was the plane always ready, like after
yes,
mission?
it was always ready.
Was there a crew that did that, or was it your crew?
They had a
that
ground crew that did
crew.
it. Ground crew.
So the ground crew prepared the vehicles always fueled, always
all
bomb
fueled
ready,
and always got the bombs
ammunition
on.
ready.
Whatever we were flying, we'd always see it, whether we had 500 pounders or 1,000 pounders or whatever it was, anti-personnel bombs. That was when you went in. We were always all ready, and we get out, and then we take off, and we'd rendezvous over England until they got them all together, and then we all take
So
off.
if it's 100 ships or 1,000 or a few hundred,
A few hundred, whatever it was, the big missions, we'd all get together and go right and stay in close formation. It made it tougher for the German fighter planes and everything else.
And when would the fighter planes come in? Would they come in over the coast, or would they come in?
We would take off and go in over the coast, right over the coast.
Right.
A lot of times we altered and looked like we were going to Norway or Sweden.
Right.
And going up that way to throw
bomb
them
a
off.
sub base or something.
And then come back in and hit the target we were going at. See.
Right.
Of course, when you got to going to Berlin, you didn't pull any punches. I mean, you took off and you aimed right where you were going, because the fighters couldn't go all the way with us until after they got the new 51.
Right.
When you got the 51, which could wing tanks, they could go into that until if they caught enemy fighters, then they had to drop us. They take us right in.
Right.
But we dropped the wing tanks after so long to get in there. But if fighters come on, they had to drop them right then and there. Drop the wing tanks so they could fight, and then they'd have to leave you. So.
Right.
But that's when the minute you fighters left you, though, that's when the Germans would hit you.
Right.
Every time. And that's what happened to us on the last mission.